Basil, let me read you something that Greg Sargent writes in today's Washington Post, which is a pretty insightful analysis. What Trump really represents is the promise of law and order without the rule of law. He stands for this in combination as part of the same package, often quite deliberately so. But law and order without the rule of law is the wielding of power and violence, both state violence and private vigilante violence, unshackled from law and rules-bound processes. You know, when I read that, I remember that Donald Trump isn't for the law at all. He's an unindicted co-conspirator in the Southern District of New York. He's been pardoning campaign aides and allies. He's undermined the rule of law inside the military by reaching deep inside their sacred process and pardoning people accused of war crimes. I mean, he's not for law, and he is creating disorder, and it's really an effort to bamboozle his supporters. He's the opposite of law and order. I Googled some of the ways that phrase has been used in the past, and it's never been used by someone so associated with lawlessness. And part of what his base liked about him was that the rules didn't apply to him. I don't know that they're going to, I mean, they bought that he'd build a wall because I guess they thought he'd build casinos and didn't know that many of them went bankrupt. But I don't know that they're going to buy that he's done anything in the categories of law and or order, Basil.
No, I don't think they're going to buy that. But remember, the other side of the equation, in my opinion, is also intimidation. He may have bamboozled his supporters, but he's also fond of intimidating his opponents. And that's one of the reasons that some of the language and the behavior around the voting and the attacks on mail-in voting are so problematic for so many of us, because it does amount to voter intimidation. But let me say this, and I think it's important that I need to raise this. You know, over the weekend, we lost Chadwick Boseman, the fine actor from Black Panther movie. And today we learned that we lost John Thompson from Georgetown, two amazing African-American leaders in their own right, who used their vehicles to rewrite a narrative about Black life in this country other than what we had been seeing in the media. And to me, what Donald Trump is doing and has done is continue to chip away at this very reductive view of Black and brown people in this country. And let's make no mistake about it. He needs America to buy into that view, because that is, as you alluded to earlier, the only way that he gets reelected. For people to be afraid of this so-called the dystopian future that he painted in that convention, and then on top of that, suggesting that he's the only one that can solve it. And so what's important about what Senator McCaskill has said is that what Joe Biden and, quite frankly, Kamala Harris need to do is continue to fill that gap in sort of our thinking about what's happening in America right now. Because if there is no voice in there giving sort of the ability for Americans to see the world through their eyes, through Joe Biden's eyes and Kamala Harris's eyes, all they're left with is Donald Trump. And that is not only scary for the suburban voters that Claire McCaskill is talking about, but it's also very dangerous to the lives and livelihoods of people that look like me. And so there is a lot of bamboozling, but there's also intimidation and real fear that you're going to have these Trump supporters on the streets intimidating all of us in many more ways outside of just a protest in a city somewhere in America. It will impact other aspects of our lives. And that is a slippery slope that Donald Trump wants to be on, but we have to do what we can to keep him from going down that path.